So this is an old video that you're going to watch. I started filming in November 2023 and it took me a year to post. So these are all archived clips. Some of my thoughts might have changed, some might stay the same, but I'd like to post them because it's part of the journey and it's important to me and they matter to me. And it shows the journey and shows different thoughts I was going through compared to now, I guess. But yeah, enjoy the video. Peace. Today I got these thoughts today, and I feel like I understand why and how people get their anger out. Not their anger, the stress out, their energy out for exercise. I understand why people do it and why it is valuable to some people to sort of control themselves. Because I was getting those feelings today. I'm like, you know what? I could just go for a run. A long ass run. And just keep going and going and going. And it would have absolutely made me feel great. And recently, I've been sleeping well on the weekends, but I've been up. And when I'm up, I'm up. On the weekends, it's like last night. I went to bed at 2, and I woke up at, what time did I wake up at? I think I woke up at 9 or 10, something like that. I think it was 9, and that's 7 hours of sleep. Enough sleep. That's actually more than I normally get. That's, if I got that during the week, my life would completely change. But normally it's like, at my house, I could fall asleep and literally go back to sleep and just be out. Do you know what I mean? I'd get more sleep. I'm in control of that when I'm at my house. But when I'm sleeping at my girlfriend's house this weekend, I really did just have this feeling of like, I didn't want to go back to sleep. I knew I wasn't going to go back to sleep. There was just this feeling. And I didn't really know what it was when I woke up. But now I know what it... Oh, now I know what it is. I know what that feeling is. That feeling is, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do stuff. I'm ready to act. And I've not necessarily been so used to that, such a drive. And just with today with me and my girlfriend, we're not the best at teamwork. We're not the best at cooking together. I get annoyed at things, and she gets annoyed at things. It is completely normal. But that's just one area that we've not learned to cooperate yet. If we do learn, we're not learning each other's ways, I guess, and the best solution. But what's going through my head is like, I just want to get on with it. I don't want to talk about it. And it's not that I'm avoiding something. Don't get me wrong, we did talk. But what's going through my head is like, you gotta give it time. When you're both angry, or you're both annoyed, or you're both arguing, you have to, at a certain point, you've got to give it time and then maybe talk, or talk and then give it time. Just talking doesn't then solve the issue. You have to sort of both cool down or think about it, or whatever that process is. But you got to give time. There's got to be space between the heightened emotions and the sort of being mature about it, and then there's got to be time. And then it sort of repeats itself for no reason. There wasn't any reason why it repeated itself when we kept getting annoyed at each other. It was just sort of unnecessary. And at that point, I'm thinking, like, at that point is you don't need to talk, and you don't need to necessarily express your emotions. And my point of most of the times are, yeah, you need to talk and express your emotions and not keep things in. But I do think there's a process around it. I think long term, you don't keep things in that are bothering you, and that's what I found works for me. But I don't think it necessarily means completely like open everything up and just be completely honest. I don't know, that's for my situation, I guess. There are some sort of, I don't know, some ways I could imagine it's not the right thing to do, especially when emotions are involved. People can say stuff that they don't mean. You got to sit down and calm down and think things through. And so that feeling that I woke up with this morning, it's like I've got this emotion of like I'm tired through the week, and my weekend is my opportunity to sleep, to recover, almost to catch up. But my body this morning was saying, we're ready to go. And sometimes it's like, when you're ready to go, when you're ready to act, you got to act. Other situations you might be used to, you might have that routine like I normally do of trying to get as much sleep as I can. But this morning it was like, act, you know what I mean? Get up and go. Like, right, you don't complain that you're not getting enough sleep. It is what it is. You've got to just keep going. You got to keep going. And I think that's what I relate to this situation of last night. It's like, yeah, sure, we talk about it, but it's not a massive issue. It's not going to corrupt anything in the relationship. It's just a small little bicker. And sometimes you just got to get on with it. And because I was also thinking about the running. I'm like, I understand why I want to run, because I want to just like, not necessarily avoid what's happening, but I want to just like get through it. I just want to keep going. And I've got this sort of drive, and it's like, what's the word? It's like, don't be stopped. God, that's a horrid sound. It's like, just, don't be stopped. Just keep going. And I think there's a time for just brutally going and doing things. And then there's a time for sort of rest and recovery and openness and sharing things at a bit of more of a sensitive time. And there's a sensitive time and a bit of a brutal time. And I think that's what I sometimes battle with, is when to be what sometimes. When to be sensitive and when to be brutal. Because I can be brutal. I can just naturally be brutal with myself and with other people. Like, I don't need to try and be brutal. I am just naturally, sometimes I'm holding back being brutal. Whereas sometimes I do have to try and be sensitive with myself and with others. But I don't think every situation, I think every situation is different. A lot are similar, but a lot of the time they can be different. And I think knowing how to act in some situations is what's important. And then also thinking now, it is important to be caring in the long term. Overall, be caring, but doesn't necessarily mean you have to be super like that all the time. I imagine, if my parents weren't a bit straightforward with me, a bit, they ask of things of me, and they have standards, and if I'm not adhering to those standards, it changes who I am and it makes me better. Whereas if they were just supportive all the time, I could understand how, one, I wouldn't become who I am today, and probably would become a person that's sensitive and needs to be more brutal. And it's not necessarily a negative thing. I think it just swings either way. I think if you get a lot of support, you are more supportive or need more support. You identify with characteristics on that side. Whereas when you don't get support, you characterize more with a brutal side, or you don't maybe see the support. You characterize more with brutal sort of characteristics and have different reactions. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily a negative. I don't think it is a negative. I think it's a balancing act either way. You know, one person's either got to balance it and be more brutal, and one person's got to be more sensitive in whatever situations. But I think over long term, I think everyone knows that they've got to be loving and they've got to be caring and they've got to be good. It's hard, but I think everyone knows that that's the general direction we're all aiming to go. I think there's a very fine amount of people that I think there's a small amount of people that are trying to be bad. I wonder. Well, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know everyone, but I do feel like, with my experience, I've come across more people trying to be good than bad. But there are bad people out there, so it's a tough one to actually sort of conclude on. But I think for me, when I get that feeling that I have to act and I have to do things, and I've got a bit of a drive, I enjoy it. I enjoy feeling a bit of a savage way, being less emotional, because I think also naturally I am emotional. I am an emotional person inside, and there's a time to show that, and then there's a time not to, because I know in the past I've thought, I don't want to share thoughts and I don't want to share how I'm feeling with people, because I don't want it to be a constant thing in my life where it's like in my own time I'm thinking about this, and then now I tell someone else and it's like every time I see them it's all about that. That's how I used to think, and I used to think that's what I don't want. I know that's a bit unrealistic, but I do understand that point of view now as I'm a bit older, that yeah, sometimes you do just need people to be a bit brutal with you to get you to go and to have that drive and to do things and to act. And I always think about some people sort of hide away from the problems by doing things, by, being a workaholic and acting and avoiding sort of what needs to be done. These workaholics sort of feel great when whatever they're doing, because they're running away from what they need to do, the sort of emotional sensitive stuff, and to sort of confront the problems. But I understand now why people are like that, because like I said, I just want to go on a run, just get it, or do some form of hard exercise and kill myself and be like, yeah, you got it out. Tame the mind, tame the ego a bit. So I can understand how those things, if I was going to go and work right now, I'd probably get a lot done. But I also know that that's not a long-term solution, but I do know it can benefit certain people who are like that. It's not a long-term solution, like I said, because you can't just run away from your problems. But I understand now, I think, why some people do feel that way. And that's okay to feel that way, as long as you look at the long term and what are the effects of being that way. Are you killing yourself too much and therefore killing the loved ones around you? Or have you got a balance of being sensitive with yourself and being sensitive with other people and caring for them and caring for yourself, while also keeping that brutalness? It's an interesting thought that I think about sometimes. Sort of the balance. There's a lot of balancing, I think, in life and in our existence, and I do contemplate it a lot. But yeah, I'm home now, so peace.